Smell bull. That's what I smell. I smell it. And as we can see, my nose is pretty large. Even though I got allergies, I can still smell well enough. I know what I'm smelling when I'm smelling it. Shedeur Sanders, 5th round pick.
They're not just mad at the league, they're suing it. And not for some light drama either. This is full-on draft day sabotage. Was there a secret plot to keep Shedeur Sanders out of the NFL? Did the league just mess with the wrong family? Because if so, they're about to regret every shady move they made. Shedeur Sanders didn't just get overlooked, he got erased, like he never existed. The man walked into draft night in a custom suit, calm, confident, waiting for that life-changing call, but the phone never rang. Not a text, not even one of those fake spam calls about your car's extended warranty. Total silence. And while teams were out here wasting picks on dudes who peaked in high school highlight reels, Shedeur sat there.
If you ain't trying to change the franchise or the coach, then don't give me. So you should know history repeats itself over and over and over, and I've done it over and over and over, so it should be no question why an NFL franchise should pick me. You think I'm worried about what critics say or what people gotta say? You know who my dad is? They hated on him too. So it's like, it's almost normal. Without people hating, it's not normal for us. So we like the adversity, we like everything that comes with the name, that's why we are.
The camera catching every second of disbelief, realizing the NFL just pulled a disappearing act worthy of a magician. Now, the Sanders family is done playing nice. They've gone from gridiron to courtroom, turning this into a real-life sports drama. The family that gave us Coach Prime, the king of swagger himself, is dropping a lawsuit sequel that's got every sports lawyer sweating. And the paperwork, it's reportedly thicker than a Texas brisket sandwich. The claim.
I was on the edge of my seat waiting for his name to be called because he is him. He is he. He is it. He should have gone first overall. And the NFL should be ashamed of itself for what it has now done over 3 rounds of the draft to Shedeur Sanders. I'm so sickened and I'm so saddened over what this league just did to this kid.
That Shedeur wasn't just ignored, he was set up. Politely shown the door, escorted out of the NFL's exclusive club like someone who showed up to the gala in Crocs. This isn't just about football anymore. This is war in a suit, and the league better buckle up. Let's rewind to the crime scene. NFL draft night. Shedeur Sanders came in hot off a season at Colorado that had defenders rethinking their whole careers.
It's not like that.
Okay.
Like, it's not like who I would like for him to play for. It's a couple teams that I won't allow him to play for. So it's not like that. But this is my profession. I know what's behind the curtain. We ain't got to get back there for me to understand what's behind the curtain and what's not prominent for my son. I'm not doing it. Ain't
And
no
if he
in the world.
doesn't listen to you?
Who? 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 Yeah. You must mean owners, like not my son.
He survived behind an O-line that blocked like wet tissue in a thunderstorm and still dropped stats that made some NFL backups look like high school scrimmage material. He was supposed to be the mid-round steal of the century, a diamond in plain sight. But when those picks started rolling in, Shadeur's name just sat there, frozen at the bottom of the screen like a cursed app update that refuses to load. Fans were refreshing, waiting, praying, and nothing happened.
Will you step in Eli Manning like, Deion Sanders like, to the point where like you told him, hey man, I ain't taking that psych test with the Giants. I followed you after that. I said I wasn't taking it either. Will you step in and do some of that if it's the wrong organization and say he ain't going there?
Yeah, but I'm not gonna do it publicly. I'll do it privately.
Yeah. Okay.
So you said you're gonna be dad. You're gonna be dad. You're gonna be dad.
I'm gonna be dad when the cows come home. Yes, sir. And with Travis as well.
Oh yeah. I keep forgetting that shit. Hey, I keep forgetting that shit.
And here's where it all flips from weird to wild. The Sanders family claims this wasn't bad luck. This was sabotage with a smile. The lawsuit straight up accuses the NFL of playing chess while pretending to play fair. Allegedly, there was a quiet backroom agreement, a whisper network of teams keeping Shedeur out of the league. Why? Because he came with baggage, but not the airport kind. No suitcases, no luggage fees. This was the prime effect. Cameras, Netflix crews, viral moments, and a dad who outshines half the NFL's head coaches just by walking into the room. Some execs apparently panicked, thinking drafting Shedeur meant signing Coach Prime too. Like Deion was about to pull up to team meetings in a cape, demand gold trim on the lockers, and toss designer sunglasses to the coaching staff just to make a point. That fear, that swagger, that spotlight, it scared them. So instead of embracing the fire, they iced him out. And now, that move might cost them big. The NFL's old school suits started sweating. They didn't want a star, they wanted a statue. A quiet backup who'd hold a clipboard, not headlines.
Shedeur has started every game in high school,
Right.
every game in college except one, and he's prepared for this next level and this journey that he's about to go. And I think he's the most equipped. He's had, Cam, you know, the 7 different offensive coordinators.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, a line that was always criticized and scrutinized, but,
Sure.
but he still stood and delivered. I think he's the best one for the job for any city, and he's the most equipped. Oftentimes, we draft these quarterbacks that been on these elite teams. Now they get in a situation where it's not as conducive to their success.
For sure.
And they choke.
But they weren't looking for flash or flair. They wanted a guy who'd blend in, nod politely, and disappear into the background. So pick after pick, they passed on Shedeur. This wasn't a cold shoulder anymore. This was a full-blown freeze-out. Meanwhile, teams were drafting quarterbacks with arms made of overcooked noodles and resumes so forgettable they might as well have been written in invisible ink. Some of these dudes couldn't even spell touchdown without autocorrect, but they fit the NFL mold, plain, beige, and safe enough to not cause a ripple on social media. And that's exactly what scared the league about Shedeur. He wasn't safe. He had energy, personality, and style. He'd walk into a press conference dressed sharper than most owners and talk with confidence that made reporters scramble for quotes. The NFL wanted control, not charisma, and Shedeur was too magnetic to contain. Now here's the craziest part. The media suddenly went silent. You'd think a snub this wild would blow up every sports headline. But nope, nothing.
Shedeur Sanders has now made it to the 3rd round of the NFL draft without getting picked, and the reason for this is a lot more diabolical than anyone would have imagined. When the 2024 NFL draft ended, Shedeur Sanders was projected as the odds-on favorite to be the #1 overall draft pick in 2025. As the year went on, other players stepped up, and Shedeur became probably the 3rd QB prospect, but now we're into the 3rd round and he still hasn't been drafted. A lot of people said it's because his interviews went poorly or his combine performance wasn't up to par or that he didn't play well enough in his final season of college football. But the real reason behind it is way more than that.
The same networks that spent months hyping Colorado like it was a Marvel movie suddenly acted like they lost Wi-Fi. No interviews, no outrage, no debate shows screaming into microphones, just silence. And that silence, suspiciously strategic. The lawsuit lays it out plain. The league allegedly tanked Shedeur's draft stock on purpose to dodge the Coach Prime circus. In their eyes, being marketable became a problem. Having millions of fans was now too risky. Imagine that. The same league that lives off jersey sales, highlight reels, and TikTok clips suddenly treating charisma like a crime. And oh, it gets juicy. Or maybe messy, depending on how much chaos you can handle. According to the lawsuit, things took a dark turn late in the draft process. Scouts who once hyped Shedeur as a guaranteed day 2 lock suddenly vanished. One week he's being praised as a future starter, the next he's radioactive. No interviews, no team visits, just silence. The man got ghosted harder than a bad Tinder date. Whispers started flying that some teams didn't want the primetime package, the cameras, the spotlight, the personality that comes with being Deion's son. It's like they thought Coach Prime was going to roll into their facility with fog machines, hype music, and backup dancers for team warm-ups. The paranoia was unreal. And here's the wild part. This isn't just a small-time complaint. This is a thunderclap fired straight at a billion-dollar empire that hates being questioned. Because let's be honest, Shedeur wasn't just good, he was elite. The numbers spoke loud, but the silence from the league spoke louder. Now here's the real question. Do they have an actual case? Legally speaking, it's a tough one.
I also find it funny that Shedeur Sanders, who the Cleveland Browns extensively talked to in the pre-draft, extensively went to see him. Why would you go to see somebody and you thought they were a 5th round pick? Why would you go meet with a person if you felt that they were a 6th round pick and you knew you were going to take Dylan Gabriel? See, what I think happened was the league said, here's what we're going to do. We can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Hey, Shedeur, we'll make sure we make an example out of that. Council was going to say, you're going to slide, not the 2nd, not the 3rd, not the 4th, and the 5th. All the rest of you teams out there, don't even.
The NFL's collective bargaining agreement basically lets teams draft whoever they want, no matter how questionable the logic. A GM could pick a punter who plays the banjo in his spare time, and the league would just shrug. Unless there's cold hard proof, texts, emails, or a secret group chat titled Operation Skip Shedeur. This might be one of those scandals that lives in the shadows, whispered about but never proven. Still, the fact that they're daring to call the league out like this, that's already shaking the system. This lawsuit might not crush it in court, but that's not the point. This isn't about legal wins, it's about exposure. It's about putting the NFL on blast, dragging every uncomfortable truth into the spotlight and refusing to let them look away. Even if this case fades from the courtroom, it's already catching fire in the court of public opinion. Fans are split right down the middle, like bad Wi-Fi during game day. Some are yelling facts from the rooftops, calling it the biggest draft scandal in years, while others are clutching their pearls, pretending it's just business as usual.
Shedeur Sanders not being drafted in the 1st round is ridiculous. Just 2 weeks ago, he was the top 3 quarterback. Then these anonymous reports came out, and now he's not a 1st round quarterback? Like, come on, bro. Do we really gotta talk about this? Like, do we really gotta take it there? But at the same time, we've seen this before with Lamar Jackson. And if anything, it looks like the Shedeur villain era.
But come on, this wasn't about skill, this was about image. The league didn't want the prime show in their locker rooms. They didn't want cameras, charisma, or a quarterback with too much confidence, so they pretended Shedeur didn't exist. But here's the twist. This could blow up in their faces. Because if Shedeur decides to take his talents to the UFL or any spring league with a pulse and lights up defenses every weekend, the NFL is going to look like the punchline in their own joke. Imagine it. Shedeur throwing bombs while NFL backups are out here struggling to complete a screen pass. The same franchises that ghosted him will be thirstier than a Gatorade commercial. This lawsuit is bigger than one player. It's a warning shot for the NIL generation. The players coming up now aren't just athletes. They're brands, personalities, movements. They've got platforms, followers, and voices, and they're not afraid to use them. The old NFL wants quiet robots who followed the script. Shedeur came in with swagger, receipts, and a father who could out-talk an auctioneer, and that scared them. So instead of embracing evolution, they chose tradition because in the NFL's world, it's better to protect the past than to face the future, even if that future just exposed them on the biggest stage imaginable.
As a father, are there teams you'd prefer he didn't play for?
There's a lot of teams I prefer that he didn't play for. It's just like saying, aren't there teams that you don't want to watch? That you hit the remote, you just hit the clicker like that? You darn Skippy. You're right. It's teams I didn't want to play for. So why wouldn't I want my kids? No, come on, man. I'm a dad.
Multiple NFL teams desperate for a quarterback acted like they were too good for Shedeur Sanders, which is wild, considering half their QB rooms look like the before photo in a home renovation ad. These are teams being held together by hope, duct tape, and way too many tight ends, but they still passed on him. Why? Because they didn't want to deal with Coach Prime questions in press conferences. Imagine that. Skipping a star player just to avoid talking about his dad. And now, the fallout is messy, like a rookie trying to slide in leather pants. The NFL's keeping quiet, too quiet. We're talking ghosted for 3 months, levels of silence. Not a statement, not a leak, not even an anonymous source trying to clean it up, just pure awkward silence. But inside those team facilities, behind the closed doors, encrypted messages and scouting binders, the whispers are flying faster than one of Shedeur's deep balls. Word is, he wasn't just pushed to the later rounds, he was deleted, completely wiped from some draft boards like somebody hit "Don't Save" on the Madden franchise file. Now ask yourself, why would that be? You think it's his game tape? Please, the kid was throwing dimes under pressure like it was an art form. He was dodging defenders behind an O-line made of wet spaghetti noodles and still making it look easy. And the league knew it. That's what makes it all so suspicious. Some insiders are already calling this one of the worst snubs in years.
Me personally, the NFL is not basing shit off talent. If you're basing on talent, you're not going to say it was 142, 143 niggas better than the nigga, period. This was personal. I think that Deion said some things like he didn't want his son to go to a few different teams, and them niggas all talk like, who is Deion to say X, Y, Z?
One scout allegedly admitted, we might have just pulled a Tom Brady in reverse, meaning instead of stealing a legend late, they let one slip away early. If that turns out to be true, this isn't just a mistake, it's a historic fumble, and the whole league might end up paying for it. His interviews alone are a storm system. Every time Shedeur Sanders talks, it trends. He's got that mix of confidence, humor, and truth that makes headlines explode. But did his flashy, no-holds-barred style actually hurt his draft stock? Some NFL execs sure seem to think so. It's almost like he got punished for being raised by a legend who refuses to stay quiet. Suddenly, Shedeur isn't just a quarterback, he's a PR risk in cleats. Behind the scenes, insiders claim certain front offices didn't want another Sanders with a microphone and a message. It's that quiet kind of retaliation. No emails, no memos, just a synchronized shrug and a wall of excuses. They don't say it out loud, but the message is clear. Don't bring that primetime energy here. And here's the crazy part. If this really was some subtle payback for Coach Prime's boldness, then Shedeur's not the only one paying the price. Every young player with a famous name, a sponsorship deal, or a viral TikTok just got the warning. Be humble or be blacklisted. It's not about a missed draft pick anymore, it's about control. Imagine the scene. Shedeur lighting up defenses in another league, mic'd up, talking his talk after every touchdown.
I'll be frank and I'll be honest. You cannot convince me that Shedeur is the 6th best quarterback in this class.
And I'm not arguing with you.
And no one can convince me of that. I think there's a bigger conversation that needs to be had as to the why. Is it being held? We heard our own Jonathan Jones talk about the NIL era and who his father is, and I don't understand why we're holding that. If that's what's being held against him, why we're holding that against this kid. All right, let's just say he has a maturity.
Picture him hopping on Instagram Live postgame, calling out NFL GMs by name, saying, "Remember me?" The internet would melt. But here's the plot twist. Don't count out a mid-season NFL call-up. Injuries happen, quarterbacks flop, and desperation makes franchises do wild things. So when some team's trotting out a guy named Chad who last played flag football in 2017, guess who's suddenly looking like the smartest move they never made? That's right, the guy who sued the league and stayed game ready the whole time. And then there's the lawsuit itself, the ticking time bomb in a 3-piece suit. Could it hurt Shedeur's NFL chances? Maybe a little, but it could also force the league to face the music in the loudest, most awkward way possible. Because if this thing goes public, if depositions drop and leaked emails start flying around like penalty flags, a few NFL executives are gonna need fireproof suits just to survive Twitter. This isn't just a case, it's the start of a reckoning. A long, messy showdown over how the league really treats players from HBCUs, players with famous families, players who dare to speak up instead of playing the quiet company man. This is the storm the NFL's been pretending it can ignore, and now it's rolling right through their front office. Because here's the scary part for the league if Shedeur goes elsewhere and dominates. If he lights up scoreboards, breaks ankles, and makes defenses look like traffic cones,
Shedeur Sanders not getting drafted in the first 3 rounds is disgusting. Let's talk about what it means. I've never been a Sanders, but I've been a backup quarterback in the National Football League. More than the pride being hurt, the opportunity has now been hurt. When you're a backup quarterback, you are much more easily discarded. If you're going to get drafted in the 4th round or later, you are being drafted to be a backup. Think about the quarterbacks drafted after the 3rd round that are currently starting or potentially have the opportunity to start. Dak Prescott, he only started because Tony Romo got hurt. Kirk Cousins, he only started because Robert Griffin got hurt. Brock Purdy, he only started because Trey Lance got hurt. Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. If you get drafted after the 3rd round, you do not have an opportunity to start, barring an unforeseen
the headlines will write themselves. The NFL fumbled a future star. And that's not just a PR nightmare, that's a legacy hit. He could become the face of football's rebellion, the player who proved you don't need the shield to shine. The NFL's billion-dollar brand is built on image, but this story, it's making them look fragile. With every touchdown Shedeur throws outside their league, the message gets louder. They didn't just pass on talent, they passed on the future. And now, every day they stay silent, that prime problem keeps growing. Waiting, watching, and reminding them that maybe, just maybe, they fumbled the biggest bag of all. So what happens next? Maybe some desperate NFL team finally caves under the weight of public pressure and gives Shedeur a real shot. Maybe he takes the scenic route, joins a rival league, dominates every weekend, and makes the NFL watch from the sidelines like jealous exes. Or maybe the league doubles down, keeps pretending none of this ever happened, and hopes everyone just moves on. But they won't. Not this time. Because this story, it's far from over. Not even close. The Sanders family didn't just toss a pebble at the NFL's glass house. They launched a lawsuit-shaped wrecking ball straight through the living room. And now the league is standing in the rubble, forced to face the one question they've been dodging since draft night. Why did Shedeur Sanders go undrafted? Because let's be honest, it sure wasn't about football. The clock's ticking, and the truth is coming whether they like it or not. And when it hits, the fallout's gonna be legendary. If you made it this far, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video, because this saga isn't done yet. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. See you on the next one.